Well, my name is Thomas Lanrak. I'm a PhD student in the Netherlands, in Rotterdam, at the Erasmus Medical Center. And for my PhD project, I focus on the Zika virus and especially the neurological complications of the Zika virus. Well, the most common complication of a Zika virus infection is microcephaly, so the babies with a small head circumference, and the Guillain-Barré syndrome. We're focusing mainly on the Guillain-Barré syndrome, and that's a symptom that will, if patients have it, they will develop muscle weakness, and they will need hospital admission because they cannot stand, cannot walk anymore, and in some cases they cannot breathe also because of the respiratory muscles. We're not quite sure how it works precisely, but to say it short, it's your own body that's attacking your nerve systems. So what you normally see with the Guillain-Barré syndrome is that those patients, they have an infection. It could be anything. For this example, it could be Zika. And then maybe 1 or 2 weeks after that infection, they will develop the muscle weakness. And it's actually the immune system for the patients that attacks the nerves so that they develop muscle weakness. The only thing we know that there is Zika and there's an increase in Guillain-Barré syndrome. So that are all questions that we don't know. So it all starts with the question, is there a link? Is it really connected? And that question is, for the most part, is answered already. It looks like there's really a link between Zika and Guillain-Barré. But then the second really important thing is to know what are the chances that if you have a Zika virus infection, that you will develop Guillain-Barré syndrome. So that's something we want to know, that we can have a sort of percentage of risk, that you can say, okay, 1 in the 100 or 1 in the 1,000 patients with Zika will develop Guillain-Barré syndrome. You need quite a large group to really say something about the link between an infection and a complication of the infection. So that's also our aim to collaborate with more Caribbean islands so that we have a bigger amount of patients that are enrolled in the study, so that we have faster answers and the results that we find are they're more trustworthy. Because you have to remember that there is a big increase now in the Guillain-Barré syndrome, but it's a very rare disease. So we see it here in Trinidad. The doctors here see about 1 patient a month with Guillain-Barré syndrome, so there's not that much at all. And now the incidence is increasing, but still there are 5 or 10 patients a month now, which is quite a lot for this rare disease. But it takes a while to collect a big group into your study. So we start here today with the study, and then we hope that other Caribbean islands will also join in this study. So that's why we have an online database, and so there are different sites in the database, so the other countries can join as well, and they can fill in data of the participants in the study for their site, and everything is then on one online secured location. And only the investigators of the study, they will get an account and they can look at the database and they can fill in the information. Well, the most important thing actually is to say something about how sure you are that the patient you are seeing is really a patient with the Guillain-Barré syndrome. So the diagnosis for Guillain-Barré syndrome, it depends on a lot of different things. And all those things we ask in the database. All the data you enter there is private. We don't enter names of the patients, so it's really protected. From the patients with Guillain-Barré syndrome, we will ask if they want to be part of a clinical study in which we study the relation between Zika and the Guillain-Barré syndrome. And only if they accept, their data will be filled in the database, and blood will be drawn and will be tested for Zika. But the first step is always that we ask a patient if he wants to participate, and if he says no, okay, no problem then. The database is mainly for the neurologists because they see the patients, so they can fill in the data. So Dr. Sherry Sandy is the head investigator from Trinidad and Tobago. So she's coordinating all the research and she's collaborating with all the neurologists here in Trinidad, because you need a big team for such kind of studies. So there are also other people from the laboratories who wanted to participate in collecting the samples and processing the samples, saving the samples in the freezer so that we can test them later. And in the Netherlands, there's also a team at the virology department who can test all the samples, for example, Zika antibodies and other infections. And how it works is that, well, it's quite simple. If I have their email address, I can send them an invitation, and they get a username and a password, and then they can log on via the internet on that in the database, and they can, with a little bit of training, they can start entering data.